morning and welcome. You're onto Aspheric TV and this is the morning newspaper briefing. My name is Double Gifts. On this show, we get to discuss headlines on Nigerian newspaper dailies today. And much later in the show, I'll have a guest who I'll discuss some of these headlines with. But for now, I'll start off with giving you the headlines. Starting off with the Vanguard newspaper, it says blackout as workers shut down national grid. Striking workers lay siege to power ministry. Ministers locked out. Labour minister wades in. Strike suspended for 2 weeks. Also, it has it that PDP crisis. Pressure mounts on IU to step aside as old video surfaces. Also, some headlines here. Babangida at 81. Your leadership legacies enduring. Northern governors, PDP. Kaduna locals lynch female kidnapper. Blasphemy. Appeal court orders retrial of Kanu singer sentenced to death. Next is the Guardian newspaper, and it has it that nationwide blackout, 3 billion naira lost to TCN strike as grid crashes. Electricity workers suspend industrial action. Discos issue notices on darkness, urge communities to safeguard installations. Why we can't generate 5,000 megawatts of power by minister. Also, 8 years after leading Buhari to Obasanjo, Tinubu meets ex-presidents for own ambition. He also has it here that Lagos Blue Rail Line nears completion as engineers launch final track beam. The Daily Sun newspaper has it that governors draw blood over $418 million Paris Club refund. Call Malami liar, claim minister's actions self-serving. Seek end to FG ASU rift. It also has it that IPOB alleges indiscriminate arrest of members. Kanu's lawyers warn against consequences of disobeying UN's demand. Other headlines here say, insecurity, Lagos under partial lockdown, CP. Troops dislodge bandits camp, rescue 6 hostages in Kaduna. The Daily Trust newspaper, it says here, 2023 e-transmission of election results has come to stay. INEC. 27 by-elections pending. What we learned from Kenyan presidential poll. Debates good for democracy. Also power outage as TCN workers strike crashes electricity grid. Union suspends action. Why we couldn't meet 5,000 megawatts target since July, federal government. The next paper is the Nigerian Tribune, and it says here, governors blast Malami over $418 million Paris Club refund. His claims fraudulent, self-serving, would not stand, they insist. Also, troops dislodge more bandits camp, rescue 6 hostages in Kaduna. 2.5 billion naira, not 18.9 billion naira, was spent to clear 3,200 hectares in 8 states, Agric Ministry says. Reps probe identity of contractors. It also has it that security threats, government closes schools, students stranded, parents G3 in Jigawa. Lagos under partial lockdown, CP. Appeal courts orders retrial of Kanu singer sentenced to death for blasphemy. Akeredolu offers 50,000 naira to Ondo residents who volunteer information on criminals. Electricity workers suspend strike. Tinubu in closed door meeting with Obasanjo. Next is the Punch newspaper, and it has it that PDP crisis. Peace threatened, Wike Atiku's men disagree over IU. IU must go for talks to proceed, governor's men. IU won't resign, says PDP team. It seems devil has entered PDP, says George, as negotiators disagree over venue. Go to your villages, elections are not won in Abuja hotels, Wike tells candidates. APC supporters hold carnival as Tinubu visits Obasanjo. ASU begins consultations on next move. Northern youths protest insecurity in Abuja. Lastly, we have the Nation newspaper, and it says governors hit Malami on $418 million Paris Club payments. AGF's action self-serving, will pursue matter to Supreme Court. Also 2023, Tinubu visits Obasanjo amid pomp. Huge crowd at ex-president's library complex stadium. APC candidates calls Abiodun high. Also, other headlines here have it that federal government, why we failed to meet 5,000 megawatts targets, electricity workers suspend strike. PDP taken over by devil, says Bode George. Bawa, EFCC secured 4,430 convictions in 19 months. Lagos Blue Rail Line to begin test run in December. Those are the newspaper headlines we have this morning. I'll go on a short break. When I return, I'll introduce my guest and we'll be discussing some of the issues on the headlines. Please stay with us. Welcome back. I have Mr. N3b Clifford with me in the studio today, and he will be my analyst. Good morning, Mr. Clifford.
Good morning, Gift. How are you?
I'm fine, and thanks for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we'll start off with the most trending story that made it to virtually all of the papers this morning, which is the nationwide blackout. That is as a result of TCN workers going on strike yesterday, even though they've called off the strike and then power has been restored. What do you have to say about this action of theirs?
I'll blame the government, first of all. You know, there must be demands that have been on the table of government from these workers all this while. And this demand haven't been met. You see, just like what happened with the ASU strike and all that. ASU had a demand and the government failed to meet it over the years, and that's why you see ASU keep striking. In Nigeria, you get medical officers striking, you get almost every federal parastatals go on strike because the government have failed to meet up the agreements or the demands of these organizations. But I think it would be very, very disastrous if these NEPA workers or the PHCN workers go on strike, because one, it would increase the rate of insecurity, robbery and other actions that would be as a result of blackout. So what I feel, or what I suggest the government to do, is to wade into the situation as quickly as they can to avoid unforeseen circumstances. Because if there's a total blackout, one, businesses will be affected. In turn, the income of the government will be affected. Petty traders who survive on the electricity to get their ice block, their food chilled, and some of them who even store perishable goods, they will be affected.
We'll lose this.
Yeah, so it's something the government should wade into immediately, as soon as possible. Even you that work here would also be affected, because even if you can afford a generator, you still have to buy petrol, and it would not go down well with you as a business person. So I think the government should do something as quickly as possible, instead of letting almost every agency in the country strike. You know, it's not encouraging.
I'm glad the strike, the industrial action, didn't last for a long time, because I read a story on Twitter. I think it was a doctor who posted. Actually, they lost some patients as a result of the blackout. So a lot of sectors will actually be affected.
Of course.
And this is like, I consider this a warning. I mean, they completely shut down the power grid of the entire nation, and I think the government should take this seriously, and then so that it doesn't escalate.
They shouldn't treat it the way they treat the issues with ASU.
Exactly,
Because,
and other strike actions as well.
Yes.
All right, moving on, still on the PDP crisis that has been on the news for quite some time. There's still efforts to unite Wike's part of the party and also Atiku's part of the party, and that doesn't seem to be going on so well for the PDP. And they've still scheduled meetings to hold peace talks concerning this. So I want to get your opinion. Do you think this particular crisis in the party I think it has dragged on for quite a while, and then what do you think the party can do to just end this once and for all?
Okay. If you ask me what is really the trouble in the PDP, I mean, there's no challenge as far as I'm concerned. Governor Wike has always had his way in the PDP at all times. I remember after the 2015 elections, they had issues with the leadership of the party, where it was between McAfee and Sheriff. You know, Governor Wike insisted that Sheriff should be removed as the chairman of the party. He had his way. Sheriff was removed against McAfee. Sheriff was removed to please Governor Wike. After that, Governor Wike ensured that Uche Secondus became the chairman against all speculations, against the wishes of the party stakeholders as at that time. And
he still saw to the removal of the same person.
Way. Governor Wike also came and said Uche Secondus should be removed. He had his way. Because of his own personal ambition and stuff like that, he wanted Uche Secondus removed, thinking Ayu would do his bidding and he would be able to clinch the presidential ticket. Again, he failed to clinch the presidential ticket. I expected Governor Wike, who is a Democrat as he claimed to be, to just abide by the rules of the game. He made a vow, actually. He said, I'm going to vow today, whoever emerges the winner in this primaries, I am going to support the person wholeheartedly. The video is there. I mean,
he's not doing that.
It's honorable as a man to keep to your words. I mean, so what exactly does Wike want at this moment? Before the primaries, he boasted that he doesn't want to be vice president. He only wants the presidency. He does not have interest in becoming vice president, and he was also nominated as vice president. I think he would have just asked them not to nominate him because he wasn't interested to be vice president at first. A governor from the southern Nigeria, South, governor of Delta State, was picked and he got offended. I mean, what is the big deal? If Wike has not even been given a little portion of what he dishes out in Rivers State to his party in the state, if he's been treated the way he treats his party members in the state, I don't think he will still remain in the party. So I think he should give the PDP some peace and allow the elections to go on smoothly, because if the party does not coordinate their house at this time, they will not be able to go into the 2023 presidential election and come out victoriously.
Right.
Because a house that is not united cannot stand.
So talking about coordinating the house, the PDP coordinating its house, what do you suggest they do now? Because I mean, this rift has been going on for a while, and it seems all of their efforts have proved abortive. If you were asked, what would you suggest the PDP does to just put this to rest?
I'm not of the opinion that Wike should be ignored. But then, look at his demands. Ask him what he wants. But I don't think the PDP should bend to Wike's demand of allowing the chairman go, because it will create more issues in the party. At this time, the party is preparing for general elections. If you start bringing in issue of removing the national chairman of the party, it will cause division in the party. Because the national chairman has a constituted tenure that is in the PDP constitution. He has to serve his tenure. He was duly elected by party delegates. So allow the man serve his tenure as chairman and cost the party to elections. I do not think the PDP should bend to Wike again, because they have always done that. Probably he is the sole financier of the PDP. That's why he can take all the decision. But they should ask him other questions. Apart from removing the chairman, what do you want? If he insists that it is only the chairman that should go, then he's not a good party man.
Well, we hope the PDP compromises eventually and then put their house in order.
I still believe that the PDP can go for election without Governor Wike.
Well, let's see how that plays out.
Anyway, but I can tell you for a fact that there are stakeholders in Rivers State that would also work for Atiku, despite Wike.
So apparently Wike is just one man, and then
he has just
one
vote.
can...
The only thing he could do is influence votes. And there are also PDP stakeholders who have been in the party as long as Wike has been in the party in Rio State. He just has the money and the power being the governor. That's why he's been like a dictator, so to say. Well, I wish the PDP luck, and I wish they settle their dispute and give Nigeria what they want if they eventually win the elections.
We'll see how that plays out in the long run. Moving on to the APC, we've seen that the APC's presidential candidate, that is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had a closed-door meeting with former President Olusegun Obasanjo. I'm sure you have a lot to say about this particular meeting of theirs, because Tinubu and Obasanjo have not been the best of friends in past years, and then we're seeing this at a time like this. I mean, the first thing that will come to a lot of people's minds is because Tinubu is now the presidential candidate, and then he's just seeking alliances and things like that. So give me your thoughts on this.
Basically, I feel Nigerian politicians lack something. Most of them, not all of them, they lack character. Do you understand? You will see a politician who come on the podium and insult people, just like Bola Tinubu insulted Obasanjo and said he's an expert in rigging elections, said all sorts of demeaning things about the former president. And today the ball has changed. You want to be president and you go back soliciting for support of the same man.
I mean,
you rubbish on national television. What do you take Nigerians for?
Well,
I mean, you cannot approbate and reprobate at the same time.
You know, with Nigerian politicians, they say anything is possible.
And that's why I say they
could be friends today and enemies tomorrow. We just spoke about Wike endorsing particular people, and then he still had a hand in the removal of same people.
That is why I said character is very rare in our political space in Nigeria. Character is very rare. I mean, if you publicly shame a man, demean him, call him all sort of names, and you expect Nigerians to now see that you're going to fraternize with that kind of person, personally I won't take you serious. I'll just feel like you're a desperate person who is going back to your vomits, basically. I mean, why would Tinubu go to visit Obasanjo and make it public? Well, I think another factor is that you can't overlook Obasanjo when it comes to consultation in the Yoruba land. So I think Bola Ahmed Tinubu is just fulfilling all righteousness.
And from the pictures we saw, they were all smiley and friendly. So, and we still don't know the outcome of that meeting.
President Olusegun Obasanjo is a very cunning man. He can smile with you, laugh with you, host you. And at the end of the day, he does what is in his mind. And I tell you for a fact, Obasanjo would not support Tinubu's candidacy.
We'll see about that. We cannot completely.
Well, if you look at body languages and statements of the former president, you will know that Tinubu is not someone that will have his backing.
Well, we can't say that for a fact.
Maybe they will use the sentiments of
the
Southwest,
let's just see how that let's see how that plays out. We have pictures of recently released kidnapped victims in Kaduna State. Actually, there's a snippet of the story here which I'm going to read. It says, troops dislodge bandits camp, rescue six hostages in Chikun LGA. Following the weekend breakthrough, security forces have continued with clearance operations in identified bandits and terrorist enclaves around the state. From a recent operational feedback to the Kaduna State government, troops of Operation Forest Sanity in the early hours of Tuesday carried out a raid and rescue operations in Kuriga and Manini communities of Chikun local government area. According to the reports, the troops made contact and engaged bandits at the suspected enclave. After clearing the camp, the troops rescued 6 kidnapped citizens who were held at the location. Alright, they are names of the recently rescued persons, but I think let's leave that. The rescued persons have been safely reunited with their families. The Kaduna State government has noted the report and especially the rescue of 6 kidnapped citizens with gratitude. The government warmly commended the troops, police personnel, intelligence operatives, vigilante members and other security forces for another successful round of operations. The Kaduna State government conveys its deep appreciation to the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Air Staff and the General Officer Commanding 1 Division Nigerian Army and the Director General Department of State Services for the ongoing wave of onslaughts against criminal enclaves. Security forces will continue operations in the general area and other locations of interest across the states. Further updates will be reported accordingly. And it was signed by Samuel Aruwan, Commissioner, Ministry of Internal Security and Home Affairs, Kaduna State. So Kaduna State has literally become like a den of kidnappers, so to speak.
Terrorist hub.
Exactly. And then we've seen a series of victims being released in the past weeks.
Yeah.
What can you say about all of this?
Well, victims being released is it's good news, because I can imagine the trauma these victims have been through for the past 100 days. So,
and from the picture we can see there is a little baby. One of the victims has a child with her.
So you can imagine, see how thick the forest is. You can imagine where they sleep in the cold. Even those of us that stay inside the house, we get cold at night. I imagine what they go through in the thick forest and
the hazards they are exposed
so
to.
whatever happens now, we have to just thank God and commend the security agencies for their efforts so far. I still want to call out to them to put in more efforts to make sure that these victims that were kidnapped are released and they're united back with their families. The government should step on the game and make sure that none of them are killed. I think some of them have been killed, some of them have died as a result of illnesses and all that. So the government should do more and make sure that all of them, every one of them, are released and reunited back with their families.
I commend the security operatives as well. I mean, it's a good one that
Of course.
gradually most of those kidnappers are being sought out and then their victims are being released. I hope that more is done and then to just bring an end to all of this, because it's really taking a toll on people.
It's affecting the country's image on the international space.
Exactly.
You know, so we should do what we have to do and do it real quick.
All right, thanks for joining me on the show, Mr. Clifford.
Thanks for having me.
That's about it on the show today. You've been on Aspheric TV. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Aspheric TV on YouTube. Also follow us on all of our social media platforms. On Instagram and Twitter, we are Aspheric News. On Facebook, we are official Aspheric News. My name is Double Gift. Thanks for watching. Bye.